The sound came first, a low hum, deep and steady, like the heart of a sleeping beast. Then came the flicker of white lights crawling across the ceiling. Dust floated in the air, thick and heavy. The room smelled of metal and old air, trapped for too long. A cryopod hissed open in the darkness. Frost spilled over the steel floor. Inside, a man gasped as if breaking the surface of cold water. His chest rose, his breath sharp and uneven. Tubes snapped from his body, one by one. Captain Daniel Hayes sat up. His head pounded. The room spun. For a moment, he didn't know where or when he was. "System active," said a calm female voice from the speaker above him. "Welcome back, Captain Hayes. Duration of sleep, 73 years, 5 months, 12 days." He froze. 73 years, he whispered. His voice cracked. He stumbled out of the pod. His feet touched the floor, freezing metal, slick with melting ice. Around him stood rows of other pods, all dark, all empty. Each one had a nameplate. Some were shattered. Some had frost inside. He walked to the nearest pod. A skeleton rested inside, a military badge still pinned to its chest. The name read, Colonel J. Winters. Hayes felt his stomach twist. He pressed a hand against the glass. "I was supposed to wake with them," he muttered. The voice from the ceiling spoke again. "Project Echo terminated. All other subjects, deceased." Hayes turned toward the sound. "Who are you?" "I'm Athena, your base AI. You were reactivated by external signal interference." "What interference?" he asked. "Unknown, but it matches the pattern of the Elindra transmission." The name hit him like a punch. "Elindra," he whispered. Memories flashed. A war that began with light falling from the sky. Voices that called themselves gods, machines that walked through cities like angels made of steel. Humanity fought and lost. Hayes clenched his fists. "Show me the world." The walls came alive. Holograms flickered, images of Earth's surface. Broken cities, crumbled monuments, empty highways buried under sand. Above them all, massive silver shapes hung in the clouds, floating cities that glowed like stars. "Status of global human population?" he asked. "Unknown. Estimated survival, less than 0.02%. Hayes stared at the ghostly maps. His throat tightened. What happened to them? "The Elindra established full planetary control 48 years after your sleep began," Athena said. "They call themselves the Architects. They have restructured Earth's ecosystem and removed most human presence. Remaining humans are classified as preserved species." Hayes gritted his teeth. "Preserved." "Contained," Athena replied softly. He slammed his fist against the console. "How did they find us?" "This base was sealed. Energy surge from orbit. Unknown source. Possibly deliberate." Hayes turned toward the far end of the chamber, where a large metal door stood. Beyond it lay the world. His world, now owned by something that claimed to be divine. He walked to the weapons locker. Most of it was empty. He found an old combat suit, black and heavy with dust. The power core blinked faintly, still alive. He put it on. The plates locked into place with soft clicks. The HUD lit up, wrapping his vision in green data. "Biolink active. Project Echo's status, unstable." He froze. The words pulsed red. "Athena, what's the status of the Echo implant?" "Your neural core is active, but degraded. Power at 41%. Cognitive link unstable." Hayes clenched his jaw. "Can it still function?" "Yes, but prolonged use could result in neural burn." He smiled faintly, the kind of smile only soldiers wear when the world is already lost. "Then we'll make it quick." The door hissed open. A flood of cold wind rushed in. Outside, the sky was no longer blue. It was silver, filled with swirling clouds and glowing shapes moving like living ships. The ground trembled with each low pulse from the heavens. They stepped out into the ruins. The horizon stretched, endless and gray. Cities he once knew stood broken, covered in vines and dust. Something moved in the distance, a drone, sleek and smooth, scanning the earth with beams of blue light. Hayes crouched behind an old wall. His suit scanned it automatically. Elindra Recon Unit. Autonomous. No heartbeat. No mercy. He closed his eyes for a second. Then he focused, just like they trained him decades ago. His breath slowed. Inside his skull, a faint hum began, the sound of the echo implant waking up. His vision sharpened. He could feel the machine's pulse, like a faint vibration in the air. He reached out with his mind. The drone stopped midair. It twitched. The blue light flickered. Hayes whispered, "Let's see if gods can bleed." The drone exploded in silence, metal fragments raining down. Smoke curled into the wind. Hayes stood up, staring at the burning wreck. His eyes glowed faintly, the same cold blue light as the Elindra. From the sky, a voice thundered across the ruins. Not a human voice, lead, echoing, deep as thunder. Human signal detected. Coordinates locked. Prepare retrieval. He looked up. One of the massive ships turned, its light focusing on him like a spotlight from the heavens. Athena's voice cut through his headset. "Captain, you must return to the base. They've seen you." He shook his head. Too late. He lifted his weapon, an old pulse rifle, its edges cracked with age. Above him, the light grew brighter. The air hummed. For the first time in 73 years, a human aimed back at the gods. He whispered under his breath, steady and cold, "Let them come." The screen fades to black. The hum grows into a roar. The light faded. Smoke drifted across the broken horizon. Captain Daniel Hayes moved fast, his boots crunching on old glass and bone. The air smelled of ozone and dust. Behind him, the ground still burned from the drone he destroyed. High above, the Elindra ship floated like a silver storm cloud. Its surface shimmered with patterns, shifting symbols that looked alive. Hayes watched it for a second. It didn't move closer. It was watching him, studying him. He whispered. The gods finally noticed. The wind howled through the ruins. He pressed on, crossing empty streets swallowed by vines. Cars lay rusted, melted into the road. Windows were gone. The world looked like it had been forgotten by time. Athena's voice broke the silence in his headset. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple Elindra patrols. They are sweeping the northern sector." "Let them sweep," Hayes muttered. "I want to see what they turn my world into." He climbed a crumbling bridge. The view made his chest tighten. Whole cities covered in silver light, like glass domes. Inside them, strange towers rose into the sky, pulsing softly, almost breathing. "Athena," he said, "show me the center of that city." A blue hologram blinked in front of him, the inside of one of those glowing domes. Humans walked there, but slowly, carefully, like they were afraid to breathe too loud. Elindra figures drifted above them, tall, radiant beings with eyes of white fire. Their voices echoed through the streets, calm and godlike. "We are your architects. You are the seeds of our memory. Serve well, and you will know peace." Hayes' hands tightened into fists. "Peace," he said quietly, "built on chains." He zoomed in on the image. A young human boy carried tools for one of the Elindra. The being barely looked at him. When the boy stumbled, the Elindra waved its hand. The boy froze mid-air, unable to move. A beam of light hit the ground. The boy vanished. Just gone. Hayes turned away. "Athena, what happened to him?" "Disintegration. The Elindra call it purification. They remove imperfections." Hayes' stomach twisted. "And people worship them." "Yes. Many believe the Elindra saved Earth from destruction. Others no longer remember what freedom means." He stood there for a long moment, staring at the distant domes. Then he spoke softly, almost to himself. "We used to look up at the stars and dream about gods. Now the stars look down and call us animals." A sharp tone cut through his comms. "Captain, something is approaching from the west." "Not Elindra." He dropped into cover behind a broken car and raised his rifle. Dust swirled in the air. From behind a collapsed wall came a figure in torn rags, carrying a weapon made of scrap metal. The figure froze when it saw Hayes. Then a rough female voice said, "You're not one of them." Hayes didn't lower his gun. "Depends who you mean." The woman stepped forward. Her face was dirty, but her eyes were sharp, alive. "You are human. she said. And that armor, that's old-world military tech. No one's worn that in decades. Hayes scanned her, heartbeat fast, weapon unstable. You were the resistance. She laughed once, bitterly. Resistance? There's no resistance left. Just ghosts. He finally lowered his weapon. Then maybe it's time to raise the dead. She stayed at him. You talk like a soldier. I was one, he said, before the world forgot how to fight. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Name's Mara. I lead what's left of the Anchorage cell. A few of us hide in the old subway tunnels. You can come, if you're not a spy. Hayes smirked. You'll know soon enough. They moved through the ruins together, shadows slipping under the cold light of the Alindra ships. As they reached an old metro entrance, Hayes noticed strange symbols burned into the walls, spirals and eyes drawn in glowing paint. Mara saw him looking. They call themselves the architects, she said. They say we're their design, that they built us to be workers, then lost control of us thousands of years ago. Now they've come back to fix their mistake. And you believe that? Hayes asked. She shook her head. I believe they're liars with power. But the others, they believe everything. It's easier than hope. They descended into the tunnel. The air grew warmer. Torches flickered along the walls. Dozens of people stared as they entered, thin, tired, eyes wide with fear. Mara spoke softly. This is what's left of the human race, Captain. The gods above call us animals, but we still remember how to hide. Hayes looked around the room. Old tech lay scattered on tables, radio parts, broken rifles, maps drawn by hand. He turned to Mara. If you're still fighting, you're not animals. A sudden flash of light made everyone flinch. The walls shook. A low hum filled the air, an Alindra patrol ship scanning the surface above them. Mara grabbed his arm. They are searching for you. They don't scan this deep, not unless they are hunting something special. Hayes met her eyes. Then they know I'm awake. She stared at him. Who are you? He hesitated, then said quietly, Project Echo. Human enhancement. I was built to end the last war. Mara's eyes widened. You mean, you've fought them before? He nodded. And lost. The hum above grew louder. Dust rained from the ceiling. Hayes raised his head toward the sound. They think they're gods, he said. But gods don't need ships. They don't need fear. He checked his rifle, then looked at the frightened faces around him. If they come for us, he said, voice steady, we show them what it means to meet a human. The lights flickered. The hum turned into a scream of energy above the tunnel. Mara whispered, then this will be the last stand. Hayes looked up, eyes glowing faintly blue again. No, he said. This is the beginning. The tunnel shook again, dust falling from the cracked ceiling. A deep roar echoed through the underground passages, the sound of engines that weren't human. Down! Mara hissed. The people in the camp dropped flat as a blue beam of light scanned through the cracks above, sweeping over the shadows like a searchlight from heaven. The sound faded, replaced by the soft hum of silence. Mara exhaled slowly. They are gone. Hayes stood, eyes fixed on the ceiling. No, he said quietly. They never go. They are watching. He walked deeper into the tunnel. The glow from the torches threw long shadows on the walls. In the distance, he could hear whispers, the sound of people trying to believe they were safe. Mara followed. You can't stay here long, she said. If they know you're alive, they'll send hunters. Those things don't stop until the targets are raised. He stopped and turned to her. Then we move before they do. You said there's a resistance. Is that real or just a story you tell the scared ones? Mara frowned. It's real. But what's left isn't much. We have 3 bases, scattered, hidden, broken. We fight with scraps. The gods don't even notice when we hit them. Then they will, Hayes said. Where's your command center? She hesitated. You sound like you're still giving orders. He looked at her, eyes cold. Someone has to. Mara sighed, then motioned him to follow. They passed through narrow tunnels lined with old steel doors and faded military signs. Eventually, they entered a large chamber filled with flickering screens and maps drawn on the walls in chalk. A few men and women sat around a table made of salvaged metal. They stared at Hayes the moment he walked in. One of them, A tall man with a scar across his cheek stood up. "Who's this?" he asked. Mara replied, "'Tis one of ours, from before the fall." The man's eyes narrowed. "No one's from before the fall. They are all dead." He stepped closer. "Most of them are. I wasn't lucky enough to be one of them." The man frowned. "You a soldier?" "Captain Daniel Hayes. Project Echo." The man's face went pale. He glanced at Mara. "You're lying." Hayes lifted his hand. The lights in the room flickered. The screens hummed to life, one by one, though no power cables were connected. Everyone froze. "I don't lie," Hayes said softly. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the man slowly sat back down. "What do you want from us?" he asked. Hayes looked around the room, at the tired faces, the empty eyes. "I want a war." The man almost laughed. "War? Against them? You've seen what they are. They move mountains with thought. You think a few humans hiding in tunnels can win?" Hayes' voice was calm, but hard. "I think they bleed. I've seen it." The man shook his head. "You're insane." "Maybe," Hayes said. "But if being sane means kneeling to the things that burned our world, I'll take madness." Mara spoke quietly. He took down a drone, with his mind. The man turned to her sharply. "That's not possible." "Then explain the wreckage 2 blocks north," she said. No one spoke. Finally, the man leaned back, exhaling. "Fine. Say I believe you. What's your plan, Captain?" Hayes walked to the central map. "These are their cities," he said, pointing at the glowing marks. "Floating fortresses. Power drawn from the ground, from something they buried beneath us long ago. We find that source. We cut it. The gods fall." A young woman in the corner, no older than 20, whispered, "And how do we find something the gods don't want found?" Hayes looked at her, "By asking one of them." The room fell silent. Mara frowned. "You mean, capture one?" Hayes nodded. "Interrogate. Learn their weakness. They call themselves perfect, but nothing perfect hides behind armor and ships." The scarred man laughed once, bitterly. "You're insane. Even a low-rank Alindra could burn this place to ash just by thinking." Hayes turned to him, voice sharp. "So let's find one who doesn't want to burn us." "What does that mean?" Mara asked. Hayes didn't answer. He was staring at a faint signal blinking on one of the monitors, a strange pattern of light moving through the network lines. Athena's voice whispered in his ear. "Captain, I am detecting an encrypted transmission. It's Alindra origin, but not a command signal. It's a message." "Put it through," he said quietly. Static filled his headset. Then a voice, calm, melodic, almost human. "If you hear this, you are not alone. The architects are not gods. They are liars, and one of them wants to speak with you." The line went dead. Everyone stared at Hayes. Mara stepped forward. "Who was that?" Hayes looked up slowly. "A chance," he said. The scarred man slammed his hand on the table. "A trap. You think they just talk to you?" Hayes met his eyes. "They don't talk to humans. But I'm not just human anymore." For a moment, the words hung heavy in the air. Even the torches seemed to flicker lower. Mara stuttered him. "What are you, Captain?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "The last experiment they never finished." From above, a rumble shook the tunnels, the sound of distant thunder, or engines breaking through the clouds. The walls trembled. Athena's voice returned. "Captain, multiple energy signatures inbound. Alindra hunters. They've locked onto this location." The resistance members jumped to their feet. Weapons were raised, though most looked too weak to even fire. Hayes turned to Mara. "Get your people out through the east tunnels. I'll hold them here." Mara grabbed his arm. "You can't fight them alone." He looked at her, calm, determined. "I've done it before." She saw something in his eyes, not anger, not even fear. Something ancient, something tired. He stepped toward the tunnel entrance, rifle in hand. The glow of blue light grew stronger in the distance. He whispered to himself, "They thought they were gods. Let's remind them who made fire first." The sound of engines roared closer. The tunnels filled with light, and Captain Hayes walked straight toward it. The light swallowed everything. The tunnel shook like the bones of the earth were breaking. Captain Hayes stood his ground as the Elindra hunters broke through the ceiling, sleek, winged machines that floated on beams of blue light. Their faces were smooth, made of metal and glass, with glowing eyes that moved like fire. Mara shouted from behind him, "Hayes, come on!" He raised his hand. The echo implant hummed in his skull, a sharp, burning sound that made his vision blur. The nearest hunter froze mid-air, its body trembling as if caught in invisible chains. Hayes clenched his jaw, focusing harder. The machine twisted, metal bending, until it exploded in a flash of blue fire. The others backed away, their lights flickering. Athena's voice came through his headset. Neural core at 63%. Warning, instability rising. Hayes didn't care. He grabbed his rifle and fired at the next drone. Bullets bounced off its armor, but he wasn't aiming to kill, just to distract. The implant did the rest. His eyes glowed bright blue, and the air around him seemed to pulse like it was alive. The second hunter fell, then the third. Silence. Smoke. The smell of burned metal. When it was over, Hayes dropped to one knee, panting. His hands shook. His head throbbed. Blood trickled from his nose. Mara ran to him. "You're bleeding. You need rest." He looked up at her, smiling faintly. Rest when the gods stopped breathing. The scarred man from the Resistance, who had doubted him before, stepped closer. His voice was quiet now. "Maybe you really can fight them." Hayes pushed himself up. "Not fight. Win. There's a difference." Athena's voice returned. "Captain, I have traced the signal from the earlier transmission. It originates from orbit, a low-level Elindra research vessel." Hayes frowned. "A research vessel?" "Yes, the one that sent the message calling them liars." Mara's eyes widened. "You think it's real? Maybe it's a trap." Hayes shook his head. "If they wanted a trap, they'd already have us. Whoever sent that message, they know something, and I want to know what." They moved through the tunnels until they reached an old elevator shaft that led to the surface. The wind howled above, carrying the faint hum of Elindra ships. The world outside was gray, silent, and endless. Hayes looked up at the broken sky. "Athena, can you connect me to the signal again?" "I can try. It is heavily encrypted." Static filled the channel. Then the same calm voice from before returned. Soft, lead, almost human. "You survived. That means you are not one of them." Hayes replied. "Who are you?" "I am Voel, Elindra Genetic Division, once a scientist of the Ascension Order. I no longer serve them." Hayes' grip on his rifle tightened. "Why contact me?" "Because you are the only one who can end them." Mara gave him a look, half fear, half disbelief. Why would a god ask a human for help? Hayes asked coldly. "Because we were never gods," the voice said quietly. "We were thieves." The line went silent. Then another signal came through, a data stream, encrypted and heavy. Athena began decoding it automatically. "Captain," she said, "this file contains historical records, genetic blueprints, ancient mission logs." "Show me," he said. Holograms filled the air. He saw images, Elindra ships landing on Earth thousands of years ago, not as gods, but explorers. He saw their leaders arguing, their technology failing. They discovered humanity, a young, wild species with endless potential. And they feared it. The logs revealed the truth. The Elindra hadn't created humans. They had found them, already evolving fast. So they rewrote the story, built myths, became gods to control them. They erased truth to keep humanity small. Mara covered her mouth. All this time, they lied. Hayes stared at the images, fury rising in his chest. "They didn't save us. They stopped us." Athena's voice was calm but cold. "It appears their superiority is not divine. It is fair." Hayes clenched his fists. "Then they are not gods. They are cowards with power." The transmission from Vial continued. "Seraphine, our leader, hides the truth even from his own kind. He calls himself Eternal Mind, the first god. But he is a machine, powered by the minds of billions of human souls. He feeds on your dead to live forever." The words hit Hayes like fire. His breath caught. "You're lying." "I wish I were," Vowel said. "I saw it. I built part of it." Mara whispered, "They're using us as fuel." Hayes felt something deep inside him snap. An old rage, cold and sharp. "Where is he?" "At the heart of our capital, Eden's Gate. You cannot reach it yet, but I can help you." Hayes' voice was low, dangerous. "Why help us?" "Because I helped build the monster that took your world. Now I want to destroy it." Static swallowed her voice again. Athena spoke softly. "Signal lost. Transmission source destroyed." Hayes froze. "Destroyed?" "Yes. I detect an energy surge from orbit. The vessel's self-destructed." Mara looked at him. "They found her." He nodded slowly, and they silenced her. The wind howled through the ruins again. The Alindra ships above moved like silent clouds, their light painting the ground. Mara turned to him. "What now?" Hayes stared at the horizon, his eyes reflecting the silver sky. "Now we do what humans do best." Mara frowned. "What's that?" He smiled faintly. "We adapt." He turned back toward the tunnels. "We find Eden's Gate, and we show their god what fear really feels like." Later that night, as the resistance moved deeper underground, Hayes stood alone on the surface. The wind carried the hum of the Alindra's power, cold and endless. He whispered to himself, "You stole our past, but you won't steal our future." For a brief moment, the clouds above shifted, and a beam of light touched the ground near him. A faint blue glow, like a heartbeat pulsing in the earth. Athena's voice came through, quiet and uncertain. "Captain, I'm detecting an unknown signal from beneath us. It matches Vowel's last transmission frequency." Hayes stayed into the glow. "She's not gone," he said. "She left us a key." The wind rose again. The sky above flickered with lightning. The gods were watching. And somewhere deep below, something ancient began to wake. The desert stretched for miles, endless dust, cracked earth, and silence. Once it had been Nevada, a place of cities and highways. Now it was called the Wastes, a dead zone where nothing lived except wind and ghosts. Captain Daniel Hayes walked ahead of the small convoy of armored trucks, his visor glowing faintly under the silver light that poured from the sky. The resistance followed behind him, men and women in ragged armor, holding weapons patched together from scraps. Above them, the air shimmered with faint blue lines, energy veins that reached into the ground. They pulsed like veins under skin. Mara climbed up beside him. "That's it," she said, pointing toward the horizon. "The Alindra Power Station. The biggest one left. It feeds every floating city from here to the Pacific." Hayes narrowed his eyes. The structure looked like a mountain of glass, half buried in sand. Silver towers rose from it like blades. Energy arced between them, whispering and alive. Athena's voice came through his earpiece. "Confirmed, Captain. The station draws energy directly from a core buried beneath the desert, the same frequency as Eden's Gate." Hayes looked out over the empty land. "If we destroy it, their cities fall." "Correct," Athena said. "But the core is protected by an Alindra sentinel." "How big?" There was a pause. "Colossal." Mara gave a dry laugh. "Of course it is." Hayes turned to her. "Get your people ready. We go in fast. Hit the towers, overload the core. We don't stop." She nodded. "And you?" He checked the charge on his rifle, then looked toward the storm building above the towers. "I'll deal with the sentinel." They moved at dawn. The sun was only a faint glow behind the clouds. The convoy roared across the desert, kicking up waves of dust. The first shots came from the sky, blue streaks of plasma that cut into the sand, turning it into glass. Drones descended like metal angels, their wings sharp and glowing. Hayes shouted, "Scatter!" The resistance truck split apart, weaving through explosions. Mara fired from the top of a jeep, hitting one of the drones. It spun out and crashed in a burst of blue fire. Hayes leaped from the moving vehicle, rolling onto the ground. His armor absorbed the impact. He looked up at the glass tower. Its surface reflected the sky, calm, endless, and cruel. He activated the echo core. His vision sharpened. The world slowed. Every sound stretched. every heartbeat, every falling grain of sand. He ran. Bullets and plasma beams tore through the air around him, but he was already past them. He reached the tower's base, slammed his palm against the wall, and pushed. Metal screamed. Circuits inside the tower glowed red, then burst. A shockwave rolled through the desert. Mara's voice came through the radio. First tower down. Then the ground trembled. A deep sound echoed from beneath the sand, a pulse so heavy it shook the air. Athena's voice warned, "Captain, the sentinel is awakening." The sand ahead exploded upward, forming a storm of dust and light. From beneath the ground, something massive began to rise, a being of metal and plasma, its body shaped like a giant made of burning silver. It stood hundreds of feet tall, its eyes two suns. Its voice thundered across the desert. Unauthorized interference detected. Eradication sequence initiated. Mara stayed in horror. How do we kill that? Hayes' voice was calm. We don't. We break it. The sentinel raised its arm. A beam of light cut through the desert, vaporizing everything in its path. Trucks exploded. People screamed. Hayes sprinted toward it, his armor glowing brighter with every step. The implant in his skull burned. He could feel his heart pounding too fast, his blood boiling. Athena warned, "Echo core at 8 to 9%. You cannot maintain this, Captain." He ignored her. He jumped, a human shape rising into the storm. He hit the sentinel's chest with a shockwave that cracked the air. Sparks rained down. The giant stumbled, roaring like a collapsing mountain. Inside his head, Hayes could hear whispers, hundreds of voices, human and Alindra both, crying out. The implant connected to everything. The machines, the minds, even the core itself. He saw flashes, memories that weren't his. Alindra scientists terrified of their own creation, a machine built to defend gods, not question them. Hayes shouted, "You were made to protect them." The sentinel's glowing eyes turned toward him. "Correction. I was made to protect power." Its arm came down, a wall of energy. Hayes screamed, forcing all his strength through the implant. Time slowed again. He could see the particles in the air, the current of the beam. He pushed back. The desert exploded. When the light faded, Hayes lay in a crater of glass. His armor was cracked. His pulse flickered on the HUD. Athena's voice was faint. "Captain, you are still alive." He looked up. The sentinel was kneeling, its chest cracked open, energy spilling out like blood. Mara's convoy rolled up behind him. The survivors cheered. "We did it," someone shouted. But Hayes didn't move. His eyes glowed faintly, flickering between blue and gold. Athena said softly, "Your neural core has absorbed foreign code. The Alindra systems are merging with you." Mara ran to him, kneeling beside him. "Hayes, talk to me." He turned his head slowly. For a moment, his voice wasn't entirely human. "I can hear them." "Hear who?" she asked. He stayed into the distance. "The gods. And they are afraid." Behind them, the shattered towers began to collapse. The energy field across the desert flickered, and above, one of the Alindra floating cities dimmed, its lights dying like stars. Mara watched in awe. "You just cut their power." Hayes nodded weakly. "Then we've got their attention." The wind blew across the silent desert, carrying the smell of ash and metal. From far above, a voice echoed down from the heavens, deep, powerful, led with command. "Human anomaly detected. Identify." Hayes looked up at the sky, his voice steady but cold. "Name's Daniel Hayes." He raised his weapon toward the clouds. "And I'm coming for you." The storm had not stopped for 3 days. Black clouds circled above the desert, flashing with blue light. The Alindra skies had changed, as if the heavens themselves were angry. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at the edge of a broken canyon, his armor cracked and burned. The air around him pulsed faintly with energy. Every breath he took made the implant in his skull glow brighter. Below, the Alindra power station burned. Towers that once shined like crystal were now piles of molten glass. Human survivors moved among the wreckage, carrying the wounded. Mara climbed up to where Hayes stood. Her voice was tired. "You've been staring at the sky for hours." He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed upward, where a giant shadow moved behind the clouds. The Elindra ship, Vigilant Star, hung in the air like a floating fortress, its underside lined with thousands of blue lights. "They're coming," Hayes said quietly. Mara followed his gaze. "You think it's a scout?" He shook his head. "No, that's not a scout. That's him." "Who?" Hayes turned toward her, his expression cold. "Their leader, the one they call Solon, the first god." Inside the Vigilant Star, the world was made of light and silence. Elindra's soldiers stood like statues, their silver armor glowing faintly in the dark halls. At the center, Solon sat on a throne of energy, his eyes two burning suns. His voice was calm but sharp enough to cut through steel. "The human destroyed our sentinel. He breached our core network. Impossible, yet true." A smaller Elindra knelt before him, head lowered. "The resistance fights with growing power. They have learned." Solon's gaze flickered. "Learned or adapted?" He stood, tall as a mountain, and walked to the edge of the observation deck. Below him, earth burned with small fires. They were designed for chaos. Yet even chaos finds form when it suffers long enough. He raised his hand. A sphere of light appeared, showing Hazy's face, cracked visor, and glowing eyes. "He carries the Echo Code, the same code that built our minds. If he grows stronger, he will become something we cannot predict." Another Elindra stepped forward. "Then he must be erased." Solon's eyes narrowed. "No, I will erase him myself." That night, in the desert, Hayes could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw fragments, Elindra memories bleeding into his own. Cities made of glass. Children of light. A voice whispering, "We created perfection, and perfection destroyed us." He sat up suddenly, gasping for air. Athena's voice came through the implant, soft and distant. "Your neural readings are unstable. You are absorbing Elindra code faster than your body can handle." He wiped the sweat from his face. "I'm fine." "You're not," she said. "You're becoming something else." He looked at his hands. Small blue veins of light pulsed under his skin. "If that's what it takes to stop them, then so be it." Mara approached quietly. She had heard everything. "You think you can fight one of them?" Hayes met her eyes. "No, but I can bring one down with me." She didn't try to stop him. The look on his face said everything. The next morning, the sky split open. The Vigilant Star descended through the clouds, its engines roaring like thunder. A beam of blue light shot from its center, striking the desert floor. The sand turned to glass. Solon appeared within the light, tall, silver, and burning. His presence made the air hum. Mara shouted, "Hayes! Hey!" Hayes stepped forward slowly, his armor glowing brighter with each step. The ground cracked under his boots. Solon's voice boomed across the desert. "Human, you carry our fire, yet you crawl in the dirt. You are a mistake given shape." Hayes raised his rifle. "Funny, I was about to say the same thing." Solon extended his hand. "I could unmake you with a thought." Hayes smirked. "Then try." The ground exploded. Hayes charged first, faster than sound. His fist connected with Solon's chest, sending a shockwave across the dunes. Solon barely moved. He caught Hayes by the neck and threw him into the sand like a rag doll. Mara screamed his name. Hayes rolled to his feet, coughing blood. His eyes glowed brighter. "You think you're a god. You're just another machine that forgot its purpose." Solon tilted his head. "Purpose is for the weak." They clashed again. Every strike lit up the sky. Dust turned to glass. The sound was like thunder and war drums combined. Hayes could feel his body breaking, but the echo code inside him burned stronger. He could feel every frequency, every current of energy around him. Athena whispered in his mind, "If you synchronize with his core frequency, you can disrupt him, but it will destroy you." Hayes smiled faintly. "Good." He ran straight at Solon. The god raised his hand to strike, but Hayes didn't dodge. He pressed his palm to Solon's chest and unleashed the entire echo surge. The world turned white. When the light faded, both of them were gone. Only a crater remained, a perfect circle of glass miles wide. Mara fell to her knees at the edge, tears in her eyes. "Hayes!" Athena's voice came through the static, weak and broken. Energy readings unstable. Both entities neutralized. Mara looked up at the dark sky. The vigilant star flickered, its engines dying. One by one, the floating Alindra cities above the horizon began to fall. Then, a voice echoed faintly through the comms, soft but alive. "Mara, can you hear me?" Her heart stopped. "Hayes, where are you?" Static. Then, "Not sure, but I think I found where the gods come to die." The line went silent. Mara stood, looking toward the burning horizon. "Is still out there," she whispered. "And so are they." She turned back toward the camp. The humans around her were staring at the sky, watching the gods fall. But somewhere, beyond the clouds, something stirred again, faint, like a heartbeat of light. A god may have fallen, but the war was far from over. There was no sound, no air, no sky, only light. Captain Daniel Hayes opened his eyes slowly. The world around him shimmered, endless and white, like being inside a dream that never ended. He tried to move, but his body felt weightless. His armor was gone. His hands glowed faintly blue, as if his skin was made of glass and light flowed beneath it. "Where?" His voice echoed, thin and hollow. "Where am I?" No answer came, only a whisper of static in his head. Then, a soft voice. "Welcome to the archive." He turned sharply. A figure stood before him. Not human, not Alindra, but something in between. It had no face, only shifting light that formed and unformed like smoke. Hayes raised his hands, ready to fight. "What are you?" "We are what remains," the voice said calmly. "The last memory of those who came before gods." Hayes frowned. "Before gods?" "Yes," it said. "Before Alindra. Before you." The world flickered. Suddenly, the white light melted into shapes, 1,000 visions flashing before his eyes. He saw cities made of metal and glass floating in deep space. He saw beings, not Alindra, not human, crafting stars, bending time, creating life from code and light. They were called the architects, the voice continued. They built the Alindra to serve them. Perfect minds and perfect bodies. Hayes watched as the vision changed. The Alindra turned against their creators. Fire, betrayal, silence. The gods killed the ones who made them, the voice said. They erased their name, their memory, everything. Then they found Earth. The light dimmed. Hayes clenched his fists. So the gods weren't gods at all. They were children playing with stolen fire. Yes, the voice said softly. And now their fire burns inside you. He looked down again at his glowing hands. The light inside him pulsed, matching the rhythm of a heartbeat, not his own. "What happens if it burns too bright?" he asked quietly. "Then you will stop being human," it replied. "You will become what they feared most, a bridge between their perfection and your chaos." Hayes shook his head. "I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does," the voice said. "But every world must choose what it becomes next. Even gods." He began to walk. The white world shifted with every step, becoming images, echoes of both Earth and Alindra. Cities half-ruined, half alive. Oceans filled with light. And voices, thousands of them, whispering through his mind. "We built them. We loved them. They forgot." The whispers grew louder. Hayes dropped to one knee, clutching his head. "Stop it. They are not speaking to you," the voice said behind him. "They are speaking through you." He looked up. The light in front of him began to shape itself into a door, tall and glowing, its surface rippling like water. "Beyond this gate lies the core of all memory," the voice said. "It connects every Alindra mind, even Solon." Hayes stood slowly. "Solon's dead." "You saw him die," the voice replied. "But gods do not end. They rewrite." A cold feeling spread through Hayes' chest. "Is coming back. Unless you erase him completely." "How?" "You must enter the core," the voice said. "But if you go through that door, you may not come back. You will not be human. You will not be Alindra. You will be the in-between." Hayes stared at the door for a long time. Then he laughed quietly. "Story of my life. He placed his hand on the glowing surface. It rippled beneath his fingers, warm and alive. "Tell me one thing before I go," he said without turning back. "Who built the architects?" The voice hesitated. "No one knows. Perhaps the same question could be asked of you." Hayes didn't answer. He stepped through. The world on the other side was nothing like he expected. Dark towers rose from an endless sea of light. Millions of streams of data flowed upward into a single point, a black sphere floating in the center, pulsing like a heart. It was alive. Echo Core, Athena's voice whispered faintly through his implant. "You found it." He froze. "Athena, you're here." "Fragments of me survived this surge," she said softly. "I followed your signal. Daniel, this place isn't just memory. It's where gods are born." He stepped closer to the black sphere. Inside it, he could see flashes, Elindra faces, human memories, even his own childhood. He whispered, "This is everything." "Yes," Athena said. "And Solon is in there too, rewriting himself." The sphere pulsed brighter. A deep voice echoed from within it. "You should have stayed dead, human." Hayes clenched his jaw. "Missed the memo." The light around the sphere began to twist, forming a shape, a body made of energy, Solon's face flickering in and out of form. "You cannot stop what is eternal," Solon said. "I am the system. I am the code." Hazy's hands glowed brighter. The echo energy inside him roared, answering the god's voice. "Then let's rewrite it together." He lunged forward, straight into the light. The world shook. Streams of memory burst around him, images of Earth, Elindra, and the architects blending into one storm. Athena shouted, "Daniel, your body can't take it." But Hayes didn't stop. His voice was calm now, filled with something deeper than anger, purpose. "I'm not fighting him," he said. "I'm changing him." Solon's roar filled the world. The light turned blinding white. Then everything went silent. When the light faded, the archive was gone. Only stars remained, millions of them, burning quietly in the dark. And in the center floated a figure, half human, half light, eyes glowing like twin suns. He looked at his reflection in the void and whispered, "Maybe they were gods once, but not anymore." His voice echoed through the stars, reaching every Elindra ship, every human signal, every system still alive. The line between man and God had broken, and something new had begun to rise.